going on, everybody? It's Fandom Empire Live. The date is February the 22nd, 2022. My internet installation guy yesterday is like, hey, tomorrow is 2/2/22. And I'm just like, is this a Y2K joke? Is this where he's going with this? I don't know where he's going with this. But whatever. It is what it is. Joining me in... Can you call it a studio anymore? Sure as hell doesn't look like it. It's Kieran. What's going on, man? Missed you last week.
Yeah, well, I get to come here and hang out on your couch, apparently. For probably the last time before we move. But yeah, no, everything's good. I'm actually in a super good mood today.
Excellent. That makes one of us.
I just decided I'm gonna learn French. I'm gonna learn how to speak French.
Je m'appelle Jean Giroux, and I'm done. Oh, bonjour. Bonjour should come first.
Yeah, bonjour.
I used to remember how to ask to use the washroom, and I can still count to 10 because Dees was fun. But yeah, that's about it.
I got like 6 or 7 things down right now, but I don't know. I don't know. I just always want to learn something new. I learned how to play saxophone for a while. That was pretty fun. Now I'm gonna learn how to speak French.
Johnny was pretty fluent back in the day. I don't know what he still has, but speaking of the devil, here he is. What's going on, man?
Was because I was the best of us. High school French, which was very different, painted a very, very different picture.
High school French. I don't know. Thankfully, I suck so bad in elementary school. They're like, you're exempt from high school French. And I was like, thank you, because it would have been an utter waste of time.
They exempted, sorry to cut you off. They exempted me in grade 7 and 8 because I went to like special classes for a bit. And then in grade 9, they were like, yeah, you got to take French. And I was like, I haven't taken French in a couple of years. And like, so? And I passed that with a 50 because my teacher did not want to see me again. I was not her favorite student. I made a mockery of it all the time. And she was like, I'm not seeing this kid next year.
Wow. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Speaking of which, Mike Bish chimes in. Have a great show, fellas. Well, sir, have a fantastic birthday night. Happy birthday to you. You told me no hangover tomorrow, and I could have swore I just seen a status that said you're having margaritas. If that's so, good luck on the...
That was quite a bit earlier, so that means he's still at it.
It's the quantity. As long as he doesn't have too many margaritas, no hangover.
You got to drink lots of water.
Lots of water. H2O. H2O. You don't, when you actually start to drink water regularly, you want that more than other drinks, which is nice. It's been a nice change. And by the way, orange juice, definitely yellow. You missed our orange juice talk last week. We'll get to that in a second. But before we do, Tommy B, what's going on, man?
Hanging in there. It's one of those days with this damn internet, apparently. Think I'm going to get on the phone with the damn internet.
Oh, no. Oh, that's too good. It's too good.
Oh, my God.
What's so good about that? Why are you laughing at me?
Because when you said damn internet right after that, you froze. It was fucking hilarious.
See nothing after.
I'm happy that you're having some fun at my expense. I guess I'll just go fuck myself.
It's perfect, Tommy. Absolutely perfect.
Justin Smith says, yo, Sean had a Jerry Seinfeld moment about orange juice last week. So I got into this conversation with a coworker, and like I just brought up, what's the deal with orange juice? It's not orange, it's yellow. Like it's not the color orange, it's yellow. And basically all of us said, yeah, it's yellow, except for Matt, who had a jug of orange juice. If you go back and watch the stream, it's actually timestamped too, so you can go right to it. And it's one of the Tropicana ones. So like it has the orange lid, clear as day, pumpkin orange, and then inside was yellow. You know what orange juice looks like. And Matt's like, no, orange juice is orange. It's not yellow. It's orange. And it's like, no, orange juice is yellow. Where's Kieran fall on this? I can't believe we're talking about this again.
Well, all I got to say about this is how fucking boring is the show when I'm not on it.
Well, yeah, I thought the show was quite good. And the chat was quite engaged in the orange juice talk. And again, they brought it up.
So it's yellow. Yeah, it's definitely more yellow than orange, but it has an orange twinge to it. Yeah, well, you can't just fucking be like, oh, this one's orange. There are many different kinds of orange, red, yellow. There's different kinds of each color. You can't just be like, oh, this one's orange and this one's red.
But it's more yellow.
It's more yellow.
Okay.
If someone said what color is orange juice, I'd say yellow.
Okay. And nobody else has changed their thoughts on this?
It still comes from oranges, though.
For sure.
I just can't believe y'all think this much about orange juice.
I came to the stunning consensus that the color of the juice is the color of the flesh of the fruit.
Oh my God, I'm going to hear you talk about the meat of the orange juice again. I still can't
The outside of the orange is orange, the inside it's not.
Believe it or not, we actually have some really cool Halloween info to talk to you guys about tonight.
It's like a grapefruit. What color is grapefruit juice? Pink. What color is the outside of a grapefruit? Not pink.
It's like a purple, right?
What?
Grapefruit? I don't know. I can't even think of what a grapefruit looks like right now. I need to Google this. Google grapefruit.
Like a pale yellow.
Okay, yeah, see, that's not what I was thinking of.
The inside is red.
I'd say more pink than red, but close enough.
Are we going to get into this again?
I feel like we're leading that way.
Pink is a shade of red, so it's fine.
Fuck fandom talk. It's the Orange Juice channel from now on.
No.
Just get to what Jerry Ramey said, so we can fucking get back on track.
Alrighty.
Shit show.
Fandom Empire, what do you think? By the way, appreciate the super chat, sir. And if you want to support the channel, number one way to do that's actually to join Patreon. Patreon.com/Fandom Empire. We had a fun Lambkin Lane on Sunday. And then we have another Lambkin Lane coming up on, it was supposed to be March the 6th, but Kieran and I have plans on March the 6th. So it'll be March the 7th, a Monday night. And
what are we doing on March the 6th?
Wow.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I know I got lots of things coming up, and I'm just gonna count on you to tell me when they come.
For the love of God, I know there's Batman spoilers out there. Please keep them out of the chat. I don't want to be spoiled. That's one movie I've stayed relatively spoiler free in terms of like end results and stuff. But anyways, you can send in a super chat too, and Google will be kind enough to give us 50% of that. So Jerry sends in a super chat. What do you think of the story from 2018, that draft that had Michael kill Loomis? There's something fitting to Michael killing Loomis. I'm glad they scrapped it though. For the audience that doesn't know, David Gordon Green and Danny McBride had the idea of going back and changing the ending to John Carpenter's original Halloween. And you can imagine what John Carpenter thought of that idea. It wasn't good. And it almost axed any involvement of him in this trilogy. So I mean, if Loomis is to die, I do feel like dying at the hands of Michael makes sense, but I would never have signed off on Loomis dying in 1978. You know, maybe if we're going off this timeline, maybe Michael escaped, 20 years or 25 years after he was in there, and him and Loomis had a showdown, and Loomis dies that way. But I never would have wanted Loomis to die in 19. I know what you're laughing at, Johnny. It's a nice Phantom Menace mug, though. You got to admit. I never would have liked Loomis dying in 78. What about you guys? What do you think?
I think that Michael killing Loomis is awesome. I like. Well, I mean, the ending of Halloween 5, which of course I love and nobody else does. He pretty much dies there. He ends up being written back in that he didn't die, but it's meant to be that he basically died and tried to kill Michael in the process. And I thought that was like a really fit ending to that, to that movie. So yeah, I mean, it worked there for me, but yeah, killing him back, like changing anything from the original movie is not going to go over well with almost everyone. So that would have been dumb. I mean, It could have been pulled off great too. It could have been done like in the greatest way possible, and at least 60-70% of fans would have been like, "That's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard of." So it wouldn't even really matter what the execution was. So
you'll never please everybody, and the second that you're trying to start pleasing everybody, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Well, you should never be like, "Hey, we're gonna do this." Like, you should always come with your idea. Like the idea they pitched the person in the in the beginning, when you go to the studio and say, "Hey, I would like to do a Halloween movie, except I would like it just to be Michael and Laurie, but we won't have Loomis," or whatever they want to do. Whatever their idea is, their pitch should never change, because once, like, your idea is your idea, your brainchild, you should never change it. But if you're the studio and they said, "Hey, like, we're gonna do this thing where we change the original movie," then the studio should be like, "No, we can't do that, because that would probably not make a lot of money."
You can't.
It's a way to alienate some of the diehard fans.
Yeah. You can't walk in with a pitch to a sequel and include in your pitch, "But we need to go back and change this of the movie from 50 years ago." Like, that would have been like J.J. Abrams walking into Disney being like, "Okay, here's my pitch for episode 7. All right? Vader's not dead. He didn't actually die in Jedi. He's still alive."
I mean, they did that in Rise of Skywalker, so...
Actually, hang on. Before we get off the JJ topic here, Johnny, I know you probably want to finish your point, but it came out, was it last week or the week before, that J.J. Abrams' intention was to blow up Coruscant in The Force Awakens. That's why when you see that quick shot of the planet Hosnian Prime, when it gets blown up, you never hear the name of it. They never tell you the name of it in the movie. They just, "Oh, that's the Republic. The Republic's gone." And Lucasfilm axed any chance of him blowing up Coruscant. Everyone knows
like
JJ. Yeah, oh, for sure. It definitely, like, when it happened, I was like, did they really just blow up Coruscant? Because, like, to me, there's a gritty way you can shoot Coruscant today that would look really good. And he's pretty anti-prequel, and Lucasfilm wouldn't have it. So they met somewhere in the middle. Okay, well, it's going to look like I blew up Coruscant, even though it didn't. So
that would have had a lot more impact, though.
It would have been like a definite, like a big time punch.
Yeah,
but I think you would have had to show Coruscant more in the film for it to, like, really have any gravitas, in my opinion.
I don't know about that. I think it would have had the parallels, like the way JJ did 7 was painted as his tribute to 4. Blowing up Coruscant would have made a great deal of sense as the ultimate parallel to Alderaan.
Yeah, instead they blew up 5 planets in that movie. Was it 5, 4, or 5? I don't know. Super.
I remember blowing up Hosnian Prime. I don't remember specifically how much they did with it.
Tommy, any thoughts on the idea of retrofitting the end of Halloween 78 and having Loomis die at the hands of Michael?
Well, it sounds like a bad idea, Sean. It's a good damn thing they didn't do it.
Oh, man. I'm happy that didn't happen. And yet, at the same time, I think Kieran mentioned this earlier, I would have really enjoyed... I think there's a story you can tell where Loomis does die at the hands of Michael or self-sacrifices himself. I think that's a way they could have gone with Halloween 6, but ultimately didn't. And nobody knew Donald Pleasance was about to die. And, these things
Loomis
happen.
Like they never did that one before either.
Jerry Ramy says, "I'm feeling generous tonight. I want Tommy's soul, though." Oh, wow.
Are you sure that's supposed to say soul?
What else would it say?
I don't know. Soil?
What?
You're just making up things. Like, you're like, yeah, you know what? That's how it's spelled now.
He doesn't actually want my soul. He wants my soil. What?
Do you like have a headcanon for words? Like, I think this word means that now.
I mean, it often feels like when you're on social media that people do.
Social media is a cesspool. So
yeah,
I'll admit, there's a few people Johnny and I used to go to school with that got removed this weekend. Just got sick of seeing certain stuff, and it's like, yeah, I don't need that toxicity in my life. So 250 people gone off my friends list. So don't wish any ill will upon them. Just don't have time for that nonsense.
I'm very friendly with the unfollow button on Facebook.
Sometimes it's just it's just like you don't need that type of negativity in your life. Like that's the only way to keep yourself afloat is like there's some people can be negative and you can be like, okay, well, what does this relationship have in it? And it's like, sometimes this person can be negative, but also I get lots of positive from this person. If you have people in your life who like all you do is hear about bullshit from them, and you're like, this is not a positive relationship for me. This gives me nothing. Then you gotta get rid of those people.
Well, as a guy that I promise we're getting to Halloween talk. This will be time stamped afterwards.
This is why
we're not even 20 minutes in yet. If you're expecting the meat and potatoes yet, you're new.
Michael's not helping the town with any fucking thing. They need to just fucking get rid of him. He's a negative influence. He's been shit to Haddonfield, and they need to get rid of him.
I think they tried that in the last movie, and it didn't end well for them.
Evil dies eventually.
Oh man. As someone that definitely got caught in a rut for probably years, not just months, but years of just focusing on the negative, and I got a long way to go still too. Once you do get that perspective and realize that you need to remove certain things from your life, your tolerance of having those things come back into your life is way less than it was before, because you don't want to get weighed down by that negativity or that toxicity. Life's short. Last time I checked, there's no proof that we live more than once. So, and if there is, then great, let me know, because that'd be fantastic.
Believe in reincarnation.
I just, you gotta enjoy life. Life is short. We're all very close to being middle-aged, which is sad to say, and really maybe already there.
What is middle-aged?
Well, I think a lot of people say 50s middle-aged, but the truth is it's probably more like your late 30s, early 40s is middle-aged nowadays.
That's pretty fucking depressing.
What's the average age expectancy now? I don't know.
I doubt it's fucking 40, Sean. Holy shit.
It's like, last time I checked, I think it's like 76 for guys and like 80 for women.
Oh. Yeah, I can see that.
I know women is higher.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can put up with our shit, then, just saying.
And they get a couple extra years after that, after we die.
Just saying. Dean Renner says, wait, Carpenter remade The Thing in the 80s, and now Universal wants to remake it again. Wasn't there a 2011 prequel, sequel, remake too? I don't know if there was a 2011 take on The Thing. I'm trying to remember now. To be honest, when I think of The Thing, I think of John Carpenter's version. And when I think of The Fog, I think of John Carpenter's version. So, but that's just me. Not everybody feels that way. And fun fact, Tom Welling was in the remake. And a little Smallville tidbit here: they announced that they've cast Erica Durance, John Glover, and Christian Kirk in the at least in the
Christian Kirk.
I can't.
Oh, I thought you meant the
one that plays Lana.
I thought you meant the wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals.
How do they spell their name?
Not even close to the same way.
Oh, okay.
Christian Kirk is spelled like you said it, not who you meant. I was very confused for a second too. I'm like, oh, he's trying to say Kristen Crook.
Didn't I trade him to Matt's team?
I have no idea.
So let's dive into some Halloween talk. You guys have waited long enough. Appreciate you coming out tonight and enjoying the show. Let's start with this one. Jamie Lee Curtis. This was not originally on the show notes. Jamie Lee Curtis has wrapped filming on Halloween Ends, which goes a little bit with a topic that we're going to talk about on Lampkin Lane on March the 7th. And we actually teased it a little bit on Sunday night. And that's one of the endings of the movie. We know that they're shooting at least 2, possibly 3 different endings in the movie. So yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis wraps. There's still a couple of weeks left to go in filming. And I know there's a lot of people out there saying, well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And they shoot out of order all the time. And they're not wrong. Movies shoot out of order all the time.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. There's very few movies that get made or shot in order. However, Andy Matichuk has, from what I understand, a ways to go in filming still. So if Andy Matichuk and Will Patton both still have some time to go, but Jamie Lee Curtis is already done, I think that you can safely read into that. I won't elaborate anymore on that. I'll save that for the Lampkin Lane show on March the 7th. But kudos to Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm not the biggest Laurie Strode fan, but I don't know if there's a more iconic, horror movie character that is not the villain and or the slasher than Laurie Strode, to be honest. I love Loomis, but everyone seems to gravitate back to Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. Thoughts, guys, on her being done filming already? And do you think it means anything? I know a lot of people are saying they don't. I'm actually of the belief, and just from what I've heard, that I do believe it means something.
I mean, if they're gonna schedule around anyone's schedule, it would be hers, right? But like if she said, "Hey guys, I want to spend only fucking this many days there," that she would be the one to cater to. So, I mean, anyone else, it would probably definitely mean, hey, they're probably gonna, whatever conclusion you want to draw. But I mean, I wouldn't be quite as bullish as you are on that thought. But I mean, it's definitely something. It's not something to scoff at.
Yeah, it's not nothing.
It's definitely something.
I just gotta watch because I can't there's people that support us very well over on Patreon, and that shows for them first. But there's a specific reason why I think it's something and something significant. Keeping in mind, you're right about the schedule. If there's someone's schedule they're going to cater around, it's going to be hers. And a common trend in Hollywood nowadays, have you seen Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, or even the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean movie?
Yeah.
So in Pirates 5, they announced, oh my God, what who played Orlando Bloom? Orlando Bloom. Yeah. He made a big shtick about him being back, but really he was on set for like 2 or 3 days, and he's at the beginning of the movie and he's at the end of the movie, and they did the same thing with Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Made a big deal about it, but the truth was he was on set for like a day or two, and that was it.
Yeah.
So due to the uniqueness of Halloween Ends and some of the things that are coming with this movie, including new characters and some of the story that's being told being around these new characters, I do think there's a chance that Laurie could be bookending the movie. However, that would not be my first guess.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like it could be possible.
I'll make the question simpler for Johnny and Tommy. Is she toast? Is this it? Is she going out?
Yes.
I mean, it's all about the story they tell, how relevant it is. I mean, you could very easily bookend Laurie Strode and then have a large chunk of the middle being, Allison and I'm blanking on character name.
Are you fucking chewing tobacco over there or something?
That'd be new.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What are
Lindsay? Are you going for Lindsay?
No.
We're going to touch on Lindsay in a second, and there's
Will Patton.
We're going to touch Lindsay?
Oh, God.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, I was thinking it.
Thank you. It's the chat that's helpful tonight, and Hawkins. You guys are assholes leaving me out on the vine. But if Hawkins and Allison are going to do some investigating in the middle, it makes sense that Laurie's not quite as intimately involved in that. So, I mean, I can certainly see the plot playing out in such a way that she isn't a part of the entire story. I mean, by this point, they've been filming for, a month now?
No, not even.
It'd be close to it at this point.
Well, it depends, because they've had legitimate full days off, too.
Well, of course they have.
Remember, and they can't work as long anymore either. So a lot of people forget this is when they went on strike again and then struck a new deal. One of the things were production hours for all things, TV shows and movies, were not allowed to be as long as they've been for years. You know, people used to complain all the time. There's a Tom Welling interview with Michael Rosenbaum where they.
Well, it's definitely a different world, but
all productions take a little longer now.
For sure. But at the same time, this is still a production that doesn't require heavily on the effects elements. You know, there's not big giant productions of, a 5-minute sequence that's going to take a week to film. You know, there are really none of those in the Halloween franchise as a whole. You know, you might take death scenes that film, that take a half day, for certain kills and sequences like that. But overall, there's nothing that really takes far longer than average to film. So, you can bang out a lot in a short period of time, even with, the newer restrictions. I mean, let's be honest, Hallmark is still filming 2-hour movies in 3 weeks.
So continue to do so.
Shittiest movies that no one. You know what I mean? I'm not even going to do it.
We talk about target audience, Kieran, and that's not you, buddy.
I was just going to get back on the point that none of them are good. 0.
That's not inherently true. There are definitely some good ones.
There's no good ones.
Patently false. When you watch as many as my mother does, eventually I'll see one, then it'll be like, that's not that bad. But they factory generate them in such a short period that, you can do things like that when there aren't big set piece productions. And like I said, Halloween's not a franchise that's going to have those big giant set pieces. At most, the most intricate death sequences are maybe going to take a half day to film. So, outside of I guess I'd say I imagine the firefighter fight, the burning house sequence probably took about a week, but that is, I'd argue, the most intricate 15-minute segment in any Halloween movie ever.
Our boy Solid Saturn chimes in here quickly. Do you guys think Allison will die? My answer is no on that one. In fact, I would go as far to say that Andy Matichuk still has a future with this franchise. So read into that what you will.
I think they're making too much out of the final girl thing on social media and
shirts and
I think they're making too big a deal of it that at least one of them is going to be left standing. So
yeah, for sure. And make no mistake,
one of them does not stand a chance of being in that category, and it's
going to be the one that 10 years from now is still in her 30s. So
probably, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm saying there's only one of the three that has no viable chance of being final girl, and that's not Lori, and it's not Allison.
Fucking Dean had a swig of the haterade today. Way too many fucking final girl shirts. I agree. So does Kieran. Or was it Kieran that said it, or Johnny?
I didn't.
I said that they're making a big deal about it, not that it's too big.
Do you think they're making too big of a deal of the final girl thing?
No, that's cool.
It's cool.
They're making a deal about it, not too big a deal. It's a shirt they're wearing in social media posts. I mean, those could have all been taken in one day for all we know.
Yeah,
that's cool. I like the whole thing. I like the whole idea of there being a final girl. I like that. It's cool.
It's sort of guerrilla, like in a sense. Like that's not something Halloween's ever really done.
Oh, by the way, there's a picture going around. Someone tried to post it on Halloween Fandom, and Dean got a hold of me that said it was a behind-the-scenes image of Halloween Ends. And I looked at it, and I immediately thought that it was not that, but decided to reach out just for clarification, and had someone get back pretty quickly and said that no, it's definitely Halloween Kills. And then had the second person also say it's definitely Halloween Kills. And then I noticed this person who was trying to post this on Halloween Fandom actually posted as the Halloween Kills behind the scenes thing. So I don't know if it was just an honest mistake or whatever, but if you see a picture of Michael, standing from a profile shot, it's not Halloween Ends. It's Halloween Kills. And if you look really closely at some of the details, you can tell it's Halloween Kills. Oh boy, I guess we'll answer this one here quickly. Jerry, on We Watched a Movie stream a few weeks ago, I suggested Will Patton for Mr. Freeze for either DCEU or the Reeves movie.
Don't care about DCEU.
Yeah, I'm with Tommy on the DCEU. I don't have a whole lot of love for that. And to be honest, I haven't seen the Batman, but my hype for it is through the roof. Will Patton's an incredible actor, and I think he's got great range and can basically do whatever he wants. So in a Matt Reeves style Batman movie, I could see Will Patton being Mr. What's Mr. Freeze's real name again?
Victor Freeze.
Victor Freeze. I could see him being Victor Freeze, and maybe actually go by Victor Freeze too, and not just Mr. Freeze. So
I think I don't want to just jump on that, but I think to me, Will Patton is like a Jim Beaver. You know, he's that amazingly talented character actor that you call up, but he's not gonna be the star.
Well, it depends if they want to do another movie like the Batman. We already know there's so many villains in this movie.
But let's be honest, each of those villains that they've cast, none of them is anything less than, C-list.
I would say Will Patton is probably better known than Zoe Kravitz, and probably on par with Colin Farrell nowadays. Colin Farrell hasn't done much in the last decade.
He had a period after a couple of movies where everyone basically said he was nothing. Like he had a couple of bad performances, and then he's showed up and he did what everybody's done. You go and you act in a couple of indie movies, and then people are like, "Oh man, he's actually a pretty good actor." So
Robert Pattinson, that's how he reestablished his
career.
Yeah,
same thing. So. Yeah, a lot of guys have. You get. Especially when you get in that funk of being typecast, and like actors who really take their craft seriously are like, I don't want to be fucking typecast for the rest of my life. So you go do some indie movies, and people say, "Oh, that guy could fucking act," and then they put you in good movies again.
I want to give Jay a shout out.
Unless you're Hayden Christensen, then you just fucking disappear.
Man, see, that's the one thing I think you're not going to overly be thrilled about with Kenobi is there's a lot of Hayden Christensen in there.
Oh, no, so. I'm psyched about it because I'm going to be able to critique it.
I have my fingers crossed, but until I see anything, I assume nothing. So, Jay was very kind last week and reached out to me and sent a very, very nice few messages. And last week was my first show back in a while. And it was really nice because he didn't have to do that, and he sort of went above and beyond. And Jay, it's really appreciated. And I'm going to use your next message as a segue into the next Halloween topic. I hope Lindsay has an intricate role, even though her bio was vague. So about Lindsay, this is what we originally intended to talk about tonight before the Jamie Lee Curtis news, and that is. I'm hoping that this one pans out, but I trust the source, and there's no reason to think it wouldn't pan out. But it sounds as if we're going to see this house in Halloween Ends, and that they've built it from ground up. And for those of you that don't know what this house is, where were you when the original Halloween was on? So yes, it sounds like the Wallace residence is in Halloween Ends. It makes me kind of wonder if that's where they're all staying, is the Wallace residence, or if they're just, I haven't seen the new Scream movie, so I am going to say spoilers here, but I know this, they all end up back at, was Stu's house the one that they were at the end of Scream 1? And I think they turned it into an Airbnb or whatever now, and I do know Stu's house is a big deal in the new Scream movie, even though I haven't seen it yet. So it seems like these movies like to borrow from one another. A lot of people go on about the Myers house and how recognizable the Myers house is, but when you go back to that original Halloween movie, I think you can make an argument that Lindsay's house is just as iconic as Michael's house in that movie in terms of how it's shown and presented. So, gentlemen, thoughts on the Wallace house likely returning for Halloween Ends? And I'd love to hear what the chat has to say about the Wallace house returning in Halloween Ends. Don't know how many people knew about this, but yeah, the Wallace house sounds like it's back for this movie. And if it's not, then fuck you. No, I'm kidding. Thoughts, Kieran?
What? I don't know. I don't got anything to say.
No big deal to you?
No, yeah, honestly, it doesn't. I'm not one of those people that pops for everything. Like I know even like when you guys were talking about, when Halloween Kills, we saw the first picture and you're like, oh, it's got the fucking blue light, and everyone's like, oh, I love the fucking blue lighting, and I'm like, all right, but how's that going to affect the movie? It's just not. Whatever. It doesn't. it's cool. That's cool. It'll be interesting to see, and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. It looks like just like the original, but it's not going to affect the movie to me. So, don't pass it to me first because I don't give a shit.
Well, I was going to say, I think even though I would consider myself a pretty big Halloween fan, I think I mentioned to you, like, most average going audience members, they aren't going to give a fucking shit if the Wallace house is in the movie. But a diehard hears that and they go bananas. Oh my God, they're rebuilding the Wallace house. This is great. What is it going to do? Or how's it going to be shown? So, be on the lookout for that. You guys have any thoughts on the Wallace house? To me, it's just, I guess there's some narrative purpose in terms of Lindsay being in the movie and, maybe she has the house now. But let's be real. This is a nostalgia play.
I mean, I personally, really don't care, I guess. I mean, you brought Michael back to his house. Woo! You want to have Lindsay? Yeah, want to have Lindsay in her house too? Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do! No one wants to be in a new fucking house. Everyone likes their childhood homes. Probably still have the fucking carpet from, the 70s and shit. Like, what the fuck?
This is like, so the other day I was watching I don't know if it's Sportsnet or TSN, and Nick Kiprios, he's a guy who commentates.
Whatever it is, I wouldn't know the difference.
He says, he was talking about how, like, on the air you have to talk about how every, like, little piece of hockey is the most interesting thing in the world, and it's hard to do sometimes. And then me and Tommy are just like, yeah, fuck it. We don't care if the show is entertaining or not. I don't give a shit. We should at least, like, feigned that we were like, oh yeah, no, I love the Wallace house. It's like
I like this. Look, if there's one thing I like about our show and how we do things is it's real. Like, I don't think it's a big deal. Like, for diehards, I get it. It's a nostalgia play. It's like, here's something you grew up with, and it's an iconic image. You remember seeing Michael outside it. You remember seeing Michael carry Annie back inside it. But like, it's not going to change if the movie is good or not. And and I like that you guys are willing to recognize that, because there's going to be 5 other YouTube channels. It's completely their prerogative to do it, but they're going to act like it's the biggest thing ever. And we're bringing you this news because we think that a lot of you in the chat would like to hear about it, but it doesn't mean that we're over the moon about it.
I guess a character like a lot of the characters that showed up in Kills, I was like, cool, and I like to see them too. So I guess a character means more to me than a setting, though. So that's
fair.
Like, even if they went back to the hospital, and I really love Halloween 2, like if they were, if they were like, if everything was the exact same and stuff like that, which it, that would be could but
Johnny, any thoughts on this nostalgia play, right?
I mean, I'd say for the most part. I mean, I don't think you rebuild a house. I shouldn't say rebuild. I don't think you build a house like that to just have it as sort of a hat nod, pure nostalgia play. I do think it will play a part of the story. Whether that's their base of operations that they're working out of and living in. That makes sense to me. I mean, Haddonfield is small town America. Small town America doesn't really change all too much. Like, the houses stay lived in. They don't really, like, the house from your childhood is still standing there when you're a grown man. So I think that's kind of just more what it is. Like, they had to do this, like, especially with establishing the neighborhood around Michael's house is still the same. There hasn't been grand improvements. There's not suburbs there now. There's not condos and like other sort of things you see in metropolises and cities like that. So it's keeping the small town feel. So it stands to reason that Lindsay's house is still standing. And if you're going to build it, it has to play a part of the story. Now, whether that's sort of standing in as Michael's house did in the first one, having somebody else living there who becomes a part of the story for some way, or or even I don't want to say flashbacks again, because that's just not.
I'll strap yourself in, buddy.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to exist, but you don't build a house just for the flashbacks. That's
you
just
shouldn't anyway.
Not the exteriors. Anyway. The interiors you can remake, but the exteriors, you build a house. You don't, like, if you build a facade, that's one thing, but if you actually build the structure and the house and all of that, then you're doing something with it, interior and exterior.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Dean says, I wonder if Lindsay gets stuck in the window of the laundry room this time, referring to Annie. That might be a little too on the nose. Might be just a bit too on the nose. Anyways, chat, what do you guys think? The Wallace residence sounds like it's returning for Halloween Ends. Do you like it? Do you not like it? If you're watching after the fact, comment down below. We'd love to know what you think. We usually take the time to get back to you anyways, even if you're not on the live stream. So that is going to, in the interest of being upfront, that's going to do it for our Halloween discussion for this episode. However, if you send a question in the chat, we will do our best to get to it at some point during the show. If you send a super chat, we'll definitely get to it. But yeah, we're going to shift gears here. Johnny, can you maybe just quickly give us a 90-second rundown on what is happening with Stranger Things, since the birthday boy isn't here to do it for us tonight?
I mean, there's really a whole lot to talk about other than to say, they've decided to split up the 4th season. And it's not even a big split either. It's sort of at the halfway point. First season comes out in May. The second half drops at the beginning of July. So it's not even that, it's 2 months. So if you watch an episode a week, standard release, like if they'd released weekly, then you're not missing anything. It's the same schedule. Obviously, for a binge show, that's not the case, but it's not a big deal to me. But they did announce that season 5 is going to be the final season. Now, I can't remember. I know that that they've always had a plan for running the course. I can't remember how many seasons were in their plan, but I think we're at a natural endpoint.
Mixed things have come out over time about how many they were going to do. Some said,
well, they always had a number even as far back as
the kids are
season
too fucking
1.
old now. I mean,
that definitely has.
I mean, just look at the trailer. It's crazy when you think about it.
Oh yeah, the production is definitely.
Unless you want to go when they're adults, you gotta end it. You have to end it.
You either end it or you do a time jump, and they're choosing to end it. Now that makes sense because a large chunk of what makes Stranger Things is the environment, and the 80s are a much better decade than the 90s for nostalgia purposes.
Eventually, I'm going to binge that show. Hasn't happened yet, but eventually I'm going to binge it. Yeah, Stranger Things. So we know season 5 will be it, and as Johnny said, season 4 will be split into 2, which is not the first show to do that, by the way. Also, I want to give Melissa Todd a bit of a shout out here. She mentioned Yellowstone in the chat and that she's hooked on it. I love Yellowstone. I'm totally invested in Yellowstone. I haven't seen 1883 yet, but Yellowstone got me hard. Oh, wow. That's a poor choice of words.
Whoa. You really like it.
I could
you really like it.
He's talking about it right now, and I can fucking see
it.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Man, I'd love to go back and edit that one out.
We're live, pal.
I think I'm just going to continue reading this Star Wars novel.
I don't know how, this happens to you every week. I don't know how you don't learn from it. You don't
some things just can't be improved.
I don't know. I don't get it. I think most people have a thing that they read off what they're going to say in their brain 5 seconds before it happens or at least a little
I can't even say got me good because even that's anyways.
No, that would have been better.
Yeah.
Got me good. Works.
Bloody hell. Bloody hell.
You got yourself good with that one.
Yeah. Mike Fish says, season 4 split because season 4 has the runtime double of any other season. So I think Johnny made reference to that earlier as well. All right, it's Kenobi time. We're going to switch to Star Wars here. We won't stay on it too long, but I'm going to be honest. What we're talking about is we're basically going to lay out the structure of the show. We won't lay out end events or anything like that. But if you're spoiler sensitive and you don't like spoilers, then you might want to bow out. And if you're cool with spoilers, then strap yourselves in. This comes from the guys over at Making Star Wars. They're about as accurate as it gets when it comes to Star Wars information. So the show features Luke and Leia as well, and we actually had the Leia scoop forever ago.
Wait, Luke's in the show?
Shocker, right? Luke Skywalker's in the show.
Jesus Christ.
Luke's in every show. Luke can't stay out of shows.
He's like the new fucking Darth Maul.
So basically, this is the gist. There's a lot of people that are just hate the idea of Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine. They feel like Kenobi should have stayed on Tatooine the entire time, and that's it, no matter what. The problem is little Leia gets in over her head and is in big time danger, and Bail Organa is the one that seeks out Obi-Wan Kenobi and convinces him to go on this mission. This happens after we're introduced to, if you guys remember in A New Hope, Obi-Wan has the little hut, and him and Luke go there before Luke takes off to try to save Owen and Beru. Obi-Wan doesn't have that hut in the show. Obi-Wan is literally living in cave floors and like just going from place to place in Tatooine, trying to survive, trying to stay low key. You're gonna see a side of Star Wars of literally think almost like Star Wars Survivor kind of. Maybe not like the game show, but like your Castaway kind of. I do know that that's sort of inspired by it, and like Kenobi finds himself in sort of a rough spot, and we know the show is going to open not necessarily the first scenes, but the first episode is going to feature Owen and Beru and Luke quite a bit, and Luke has the type of upbringing that you would think he would have if you've watched A New Hope a bunch of times. Strict uncle, loving aunt, etc. Kenobi's sort of the guardian angel watching from a distance. And we believe, at least I believe anyways, but Jason over at Making Star Wars made reference to this. Do you guys remember when Luke is wherever he is in his house? I forget the technical part of it, but 3PO is getting like the oil bath or whatever, and Luke's like flying the ship around. Well, we find out where Luke gets that ship from, and Owen and Beru, at least we believe it's that ship. Owen and Beru won't buy it for him, and so Obi-Wan gets it for him, and Owen is like adamant that there's no way in hell he's letting Kenobi give that to him. And the thing that really turns Owen against Kenobi, from what I understand, is the Inquisitors are actively looking for him. If you've seen Star Wars Rebels, you know what the Inquisitors are. They're out there, they're looking for him, and they end up on Tatooine. And it's remember, an Inquisitor wouldn't be like a secret force. They're legitimately a police force to the Empire, right? They have authority. And Owen doesn't take to it too well, and so that's the gist of it. Kenobi is going to go on a rescue mission, and the whole reason he leaves Tatooine is actually to get the Inquisitors off of Tatooine and away from Luke, while still trying to go rescue Leia. So if you wanted Obi-Wan to be like the knight in shining armor, the guy that's going to do something for his former best friend's kids, then that's the gist of the show. I won't get into any of the heavy stuff or the Darth Vader stuff or anything like that, but that's what launches the events of the show, and a lot of it will not take place on Tatooine.
That sounds like the dumbest fucking thing.
Really?
What, like... They latched on to Obi-Wan buying Luke that toy that he's fucking playing around with like a 12-year-old. It's like...
Connective tissue.
That's so fucking desperate to oh my god, like I don't think it'll affect the show. I'm not being negative about the show, but it's like just to be like, oh, what can we pick from? Oh, how about Luke playing around that fucking ship like a fucking dork? Like, oh yeah, let's expand on that. Like
they do have a tendency to do these sort of things. I don't know if you caught in the Book of Boba Fett when the Naboo starfighter is being retrofitted.
Yeah.
One of the pieces that goes on it is the piece Han, Luke, and Leia try to stop the garbage compactor with.
Yeah,
it's the exact same piece.
Yeah,
it's just like, it's like, do you really need to do that?
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, it's the fucking. This is worse than the Wallace house. Like the Wallace house is like, okay, cool, we'll put that in there. But they're like, oh, fucking piece of garbage. Like, let's make sure we get that in there. Like, piece of garbage makes an appearance in this show. Like, just fuck off. Just tell us a good show. It doesn't like. Just tell us a good story. You don't need to fit all this stuff in. I find the fact that they just try to fit it in like. Oh, like we'll take this tiny little dumb part of a scene that like has no like interesting part of Star Wars and be like, oh, let's make sure we fit that in there. And Obi-Wan, like, so does Luke know Obi-Wan better than we appear to?
Well, yeah, well, if you
or is he like
to...
the guy who lives down the street tried to buy you a toy in the store and your dad freaked out on him? Like,
I think A New Hope has always given me the impression, anyways, guys, that well, he doesn't know Obi-Wan by his name. He knows Obi-Wan as Ben Kenobi, and yeah, they do have a bit of a relationship, and they've crossed paths several times, and even in the comics, I think your sister would know this too. The new canon comics have done a decent job of showing that, yeah, Luke and Ben had, I don't know a better way of wording this, so no pun intended, sort of like a forbidden relationship in terms of, Owen wanted them to have nothing to do with him. Owen thought it was best for Luke to be as far away from Kenobi as he could. And you know what? You kind of can't. You kind of can't blame Owen for thinking that way.
But that's like, so that's an important part to remember about the original movie, is that, like that, he's like, he didn't want you to go on some damn crusade or whatever, like that's an important line to remember. Luke flying around a stupid ship while C-3PO goes in a oil bath is like,
I should say that Leia is way more, from what I understand, Leia is way more important to the show than Luke is. It sounds like Luke's just in the beginning, and then I'm gonna guess he's probably in the end of it too. So
fuck, I bet there's a whole goddamn episode about Tashi Station. Power converters, like,
I think Luke's too young.
There's definitely going to be an episode like episode 4, Quest for Power Converters.
Do we get to see Luke swinging around, or Ben swinging around a lightsaber going after womp rats, or what?
That I don't know, but the interesting thing people are pointing out is if you look really closely at the Kenobi poster, the lightsaber he is holding is not his own. It's actually Anakin's lightsaber he's holding. So there's some belief that he may not even have his lightsaber anymore at this point, and he ends up using Anakin's lightsaber throughout this. So I don't know. Again, there's small things, because Kenobi's lightsaber in A New Hope looks slightly different than a lightsaber he uses in Revenge of the Sith. But again, it's been 19 bloody years. A lot can happen in 19 years. So, and it sounds like Kenobi's been quite active. Tommy and Johnny, thoughts on at least how the show gets started?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we know that that Luke and Obi-Wan have, I don't want to say a passing relationship, but they exist in the same place at the same time, and their paths do obviously intersect. I mean, Obi-Wan went to battle with Jabba the Hutt over Luke. I mean, the entirety of Black Chrysanthemum and Obi-Wan was about Luke.
Yep.
So I mean, they've spent a great deal of time interweaving their stories through the comics, which, quite frankly, they do have a habit of tearing up comics and books as necessary for whatever they're telling on the big screen. So, I mean, quite frankly, I wouldn't be shocked to see Black Chrysanthemum himself show up in this series. Like, it just seems like the kind of thing they do.
But it does totally feel like the type of thing you'd see in like episode 1.
I figure, my guess is we'll probably see Black Chrysanthemum in a background at like Mos Espa or something, or Mos Eisley.
It could be
whichever spaceport.
They like to shoehorn all sorts of those.
So I mean, you're going to see those little tidbits and things, similar to, other ways they've done cameos. So I mean, I expect Black Chrysanthemum to show up in the series, but not be a part of the series. If that makes sense.
I get it.
So
you're a Camille non-Gianni fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, this one's coming from Making Star Wars. He is not Kitster. I know there was people saying that he would be Kitster. However, he has a significant role in this show, and he's intertwined with Obi-Wan Kenobi quite a bit. So it sounds like people are going to leave this show really liking his character, whoever he is, and I don't know who he is. So
I actually like the idea that he would be Kitster.
I do too. I thought it would be like you have him and Obi-Wan cross paths, right? And it's like you get Anakin's childhood best friend, and
exactly.
There was definitely something there to do, but
it makes sense in a way of, Obi-Wan still holding Anakin in his heart, seeing his childhood best friend in danger, in need of help, and he steps up because that's what Anakin would have done. So it makes sense to me, that it would have been nice for him to, and let's be honest, I actually pulled up a comparison in photos, and Kumail Nanjiani looks. I mean, I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh, that just sounds racist." They're like, no, he actually has a resemblance to the actor who played Kitster outside of, the color of his skin. There's an actual resemblance that I could believe that he was a grown-up Kitster, more so than I can, believe that Tamora Morrison is an aged-up Jeremy, vice versa. That you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys read the again? It's not canon anymore, but the Star Wars novel Tatooine Ghost?
No.
It was a Troy Denning novel, and
I think when it came out, I read it.
Yeah, I know.
Kitster's in that actually, and he ends up meeting Han and Leia in it, and they sort of recap some of Anakin's childhood, and they make references to Phantom Menace and the pod race and all that stuff. So it's kind of cool. Tommy, thoughts on what we know about Kenobi so far?
So I'm just really hopeful that we don't end up seeing Obi-Wan on Tatooine for too long, to the point where they end up having pacing issues and end up having to whatever else.
As far as I know, I believe I don't know the episode he leaves in, but I believe we spend way more time off of Tatooine than we do on Tatooine.
It only makes sense based off of just... I'm trying to sort out what we said here and what we're not saying here, but it just makes sense that the majority of time should be spent elsewhere. Will you make it back before the end of the series or right before the end credits for the final episode? Sure, why the hell not? That's fine. But I'm a little cautious as far as pacing issues go. As we've seen, that's something that could use a little more practice with these series.
6 episodes at the same time, though. I know I've seen a lot of people bitch about how apparently the episodes are about 45 to 50 minutes long, all of them. The last one might be slightly longer, which is on par with what Book of Boba Fett did. But there's a lot of people bitching about that, and I just sort of thought to myself, the same people that wanted one Kenobi movie, which at most would have been 2.5 hours, are now going to bitch about getting 4.5 hours of a Kenobi series. It doesn't make any sense to me. Some people just never be happy. But yeah, that's the Star Wars stuff for this one. So be on the lookout for that. I think there's also something Bad Batch coming out Wednesday. I don't know if it's a trailer or something, but it sounds like something Bad Batch is coming Wednesday. Michael Stapp sends in a $20 super chat. There are not enough subscribers to this channel that covers a vast array of things and have more people and faces on their shows where more people should be subbed to this channel and find the personalities that suit them. We definitely have a wide variety of personalities on this channel, and some of them local, some of them not, and we cover a lot of things, and that might piss off certain Halloween fans that just want us to talk Halloween. But to everybody that watches the channel, the one commitment I made when I came back was every video moving forward is going to be timestamped. So even if you just want to tune into 10 minutes of the video, you'll be able to find where that 10 minutes is and not have to watch, through an hour and a half or 2 hours. And it's appreciated, Mike. The kind words are generous. And dude, I just want to say I know you've been going through a hard time. I know what that's like, and just know that, and I feel like I speak for everybody here, but if you ever need to talk to someone or you ever need to just vent, we're not just a show, man. You've been a big time supporter of this channel, and I appreciate the community. So if you ever just need to get something off your chest, know that there are people out there that care. It's really easy to get down on yourself. I've been there and been that guy, but there are people that care, dude. And yeah, we appreciate the kind words. Also, Jerry has been very kind to Super Chest today. He had asked earlier if sorry, one moment. 101. If we could get a hint at the flashback, and I feel like we talked about this you weren't here last Wednesday, but last Wednesday, that because of how much the original intention for Halloween Ends has changed, I couldn't sit here and tell you that there's anything from 1963 or 1979 at this point anymore. because it wasn't like they just skipped ahead 4 years. They changed a lot. So I suspect, pardon me, that there is flashbacks, but I couldn't sit here and tell you for sure. However, if there's one from 1963, it really doesn't take much to figure out where they're going with that. It's Kid Michael. So, and likely, them diving into what's and why Michael is the way he is. Quickly on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. Mike's going to be on next week. He's going to give his review. This is what I would say. It was never going to win an Academy Award. It's a cheesy B horror movie. And I went into it with really low expectations. It was a popcorn flick, and I enjoyed it. Does it mean it was a good movie? No, I don't think it was a good movie, but it was also the type of movie where you just feel like you have to keep watching it. So I enjoyed watching the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I didn't think the acting was very good in it outside of Elsie Fisher. But all in all, like, hey, when you guys watch a horror movie, are you watching it because you think it's going to be, Joker from Todd Phillips? I don't think so. Yeah. You know how many Halloween movies are just straight up bad? There's a lot of them.
I honestly think that's sometimes the problem with the remakes that they're making. They remade Friday the 13th, and they remake Nightmare on Elm Street, and they take themselves too seriously, and they're like, oh, hey, we're gonna do a more gritty, realistic, or we're gonna do a whatever, and it's like, that's not what those are. That's not what made them great in the first place. Like, that's not, like, don't do that. You're trying to make something. You're trying to make something that's silly and like the premise is dumb and whatever. You're trying to make something like that like serious, and it's like that's not what we enjoyed in the first place. So we don't need it now.
I think fan expectations for all movies, not just horror movies, all movies can absolutely ruin your experience at a movie. And I've been on the receiving end of that before. I sat down fully expecting that it wasn't going to be, a great movie, but it'd be fun to see Leatherface, slice and dice some people and see what it's about. And I left it thinking, this isn't even close to the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. However, I had a good time. It was a popcorn flick. I wish more people would approach movies from that perspective, and I think they'd find themselves not as upset at the end result of it. Would be my advice. Give it a watch. It's on Netflix, guys. If you have Netflix, give it a watch. Find some time. And I'm sure you'll find things you don't like, but all in all, I enjoyed it. Again, though, it's not going to win an Oscar. Matt said that he liked it and that it was a fun ride. Alex Roof said he thoroughly enjoyed it. Hantford McDonald said he hated it. And Entertainment Wizard says is way more. Oh, he thinks that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is way more entertaining than Halloween Kills. I disagree, but if you feel that way, that's incredible. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
We need an audible gasp on the soundboard.
So this movie is like a direct sequel to the original.
It is.
So for those who want to check it out, I haven't checked it out yet myself. I plan to before we do a little more talk about it next week. Is the original movie, unless you own it, is currently streaming on IMDb for free. You probably watch an ad here and there, but just something to keep in mind.
All right, so we're going to move on to the final portion of the show here, which is going to be wrestling, and we'll answer some questions too at the very end. But Tommy, where can everybody find you at, man? This is going to do it for you on this show because we know you don't like wrestling. So
nope. You can find me
fucking watching wrestling. It's awesome.
Another time.
Tommy was trying to think of a polite way to tell you to go fuck yourself.
Another time. No, because when I was growing up, I did watch wrestling. I did watch wrestling growing up. And then there was a brief period of time, like back in like 2013, 2014, where I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't end up getting into it too much. Anyway, Twitter and Instagram at TommyB1650, and you can find me on Facebook, not at the Fandom Empire Den, because it's not called that anymore. Now it's just Fandom Empire. So if you have any difficulties with finding the group, you can thank us because we changed it.
Yeah, because when you look up the Fandom Empire Den, you don't have Fandom Empire in your search.
Right.
It
I get it.
must be hard.
I agree. All right, Tommy. Appreciate you coming out tonight, man. It's a lot of fun. And is it the next show you might miss or the one after?
It would be the one after. But who the fuck knows? Apparently I have to go and get my wonderful internet service provider on the phone and see why I can't use StreamYards.
All right, man. Well, take it easy and be nice to the internet, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. And out goes Tommy.
Figure out your internet, you piece of shit.
And in comes this guy, joining us to talk some wrestling, although not the company that he has behind him today for once, actually. It's Jared. What's going on, man?
Wait, we're talking about CMLL?
What?
I will eat the hat I'm not wearing if Sean even knows what that is.
No fucking idea.
That's a Mexican promotion. Right?
That is Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre.
Indeed, it is.
I didn't
believe
know that.
it's the second longest running wrestling promotion in history right now, like 80.
I think they're the longest, aren't they?
88 years, I think. Yeah.
Who's longer than that?
But yes, I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Just no sell Johnny's question.
Okay, so there's a few wrestling things to talk about. Why don't Kieran, you had a question that you wanted to talk about tonight that actually is sort of AEW related, although this person it seems like they're not there anymore. You mentioned it before the show. You wanted to talk about it, so
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know that you mentioned that you wanted to talk about Stone Cold stuff, but I said that I don't. There's no way we can do the show without talking about Cody Rhodes now, and they did not just the fact that he's leaving AEW, but there's so many stories coming out of it. It's apparently he wanted the money that the incoming guys are coming, the guys, the big stars that they've gotten lately. He wanted money like they were making. There was disagreements, and there's a whole bunch of back and forth as to whether this was an amicable split or not. And now it looks a lot like he's going to WWE, but I don't. Have you seen it confirmed anywhere that he's definitely going to WWE, or is this just everybody thinks?
There's breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
Like we know he was in Orlando on the weekend. Now he was.
McAfee say something today. I guess he's a WWE guy. I don't watch WWE anymore.
Yeah.
Old NFL kicker.
Yeah, he's a WWE guy.
Wait, there's an NFL kicker that's a WWE guy?
Wasn't he a kicker?
For God's sakes, Pat McAfee was a punter for.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. No, I wasn't sure exactly who he was referencing. I was like, did they sign some Australian guy?
Isn't this guy supposed to be our expert guy on wrestling? Fucking.
In my defense, I do not watch very much WWE. I tried to watch Elimination Chamber, and boy, was that a mistake. But yeah, I think he's right about. It's a mix of things with Cody. Yes, it's a money issue, obviously, and he wasn't going to be paid the amount of a guy like Jericho or Punk, who apparently are the two highest paid guys in the company. But there's also the underlying issue of when AEW started, the executive vice presidents, I believe Kenny, the Bucks, and Cody, all had a hand in booking as well for the first 4 to 6 months of the company. And then Tony Khan said, okay, enough of this. I'm taking over the book. I will take your ideas, yes, but the buck stops with me. And everyone seemed fine with it, and Cody kind of distanced himself in a way and kind of did his own thing. Just Cody was never a part of the elite angle. He never did any of the Hangman Page stuff. He never did anything with the Bucks. So he kind of isolated himself in a way, and that created a bit of a divide. I mean, you can read reports saying that, there's tension and heat between everyone, and I think it's a little overblown, but I do think that's an underlying thing, that when the money came due and Cody's contract was up, Tony Khan basically had to say, hey, I can't pay you the amount that you think you deserve. And Cody said, well, you took my booking power and you don't want to pay me what I think I'm worth, so I'm going to go, work elsewhere. I guess it's amicable in a way, but there were definitely things leading up to the big explosion, I guess, would be a way to put it.
It makes sense. It's funny because it's almost like Cody's part of the show almost always seems like it was separate. Like it was totally separate. A lot of the matches that he had like a separate flavor from what was going on. The tone of his matches are different as well. They're definitely, he definitely works a style that makes a lot more sense to go to WWE if he needs to, because he works almost the same style still, even though there's not a lot of that on AEW. But I feel like doing that kind of did put him off on a little island where they can kind of cut his character out of AEW now, and it doesn't really interfere with any of the storylines for last year or so. So he kind of did do a little bit of it to himself. Like if he wasn't involved in any of those main event programs with the with the champions and with that, then they might have a little bit more reason to want to keep him there storyline wise.
Like even him and Sammy were kind of their own separate thing. I mean, it wasn't like the Inner Circle was part of that either. It was just Cody and Sammy doing their thing. So you're right. Like Cody did his thing with Malachi Black and Andrade, but they were all on an island, and it was, you would never see him interact with any of the other baby faces. So it was just weird in a way.
The problem was Cody played himself into his own corner. And sure, it was great at the beginning. He started off hot, with the MJF feud, with the Jericho feud leading to the if I can't win, I'll never challenge again. Very Dusty Rhodes booking and very good stuff. Leading to the feud with MJF, which was good. And then he hit a brick wall. And unfortunately, Cody Rhodes is the AEW victim of COVID. It killed him. Because it moved him into a place where he started working with the factory. He stopped working with some of those other guys who couldn't come in. He couldn't work with Pac. He couldn't work with, so many people who weren't coming in anymore. And they started to build up these other people. And the factory became part of that. And by the time you got to his feud with Anthony Ogogo, that feud was a no-no.
Yeah, the heat was gone.
It was bad, and that was the last feud that Cody booked for himself. Most people don't realize that, but that was his last one. It was pretty much right after that Tony kind of stepped in and said, no, I don't think so. And not even
anymore. Any follow-up would have been a casualty of COVID too, because he went back to the UK.
Exactly.
So it was one and done.
There was nobody left for him to work with. Now, when Malachi came in, you saw that fire. Mm-hmm. You saw that Cody, and it was good. But they didn't follow it up. Now, is that, strictly a victim of timing? I don't know. But the problem was that you also had all those background factors playing in. He was feeling slighted. Because let's be honest, every other member of that original EVP group had their own section of AEW and still does. The Young Bucks still have BTE, and Mrs. Matt Jackson is the merchandise queen of AEW. Kenny Omega has got his little niche in AEW games. Cody has nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Jericho farts and they put it on a new t-shirt, so.
Cody had nothing. He was the creative guy. Like, he was... at the beginning, his programs were good. He had the best programs of the EVPs at the beginning. But eventually that tapered off. He started playing, I'm going to build these guys up. And it was great. The one great thing that came out of the Cody pandemic era was Brody Lee. That feud was phenomenal. It came at a perfect time. But again, it was the victim of lack of follow-up. Obviously, nobody saw what was coming with Brody Lee. Nobody saw that. And anybody who tries to pretend they did is lying. He should still be a main event player in AEW, let's be honest. But, whatever forces run the universe had different plans for him. And
he's fantastic at storytelling. That guy, he's like him not being in AEW is okay, because I think he'll fit in almost anywhere else. And I think they'll definitely miss some of his creativity as well. But
I
think he's
there's
fantastic.
still this part of me, this back of my mind, that says that this is the ultimate Dusty booking. Dusty Rhodes had the ability to ship you away from the territory for 6 months and bring you back. And it was great. That was the beauty of his booking. You could disappear for a while and then come back, and you'd be hot, and there'd be a program, and there'd be all of these things that there's still that trickle in the back of my mind that says this is the most elaborate work to eliminate the Cody can never work a world title program again stipulation.
Yeah, I mean, he could come back when MJF has the title.
Even without that,
Will eventually
without that, you've built this up outside of so many things. And let's be honest, there are still two factors at play here that most people don't realize, and they are important. One, Cody Rhodes still has a contract to host Go Big Show on TBS. Two, Cody and Brandy still have Rhodes to the Top on TNT. Neither of those things have changed. Now, they're saying that TNT is sitting on footage and they don't know what to do now that he's no longer in AEW, but the amount of legalities involved in that, TNT is not just going to sit back and say, we've paid you this money, we're just going to cancel the show now. They've already filmed footage, they've already started, it's going to finish. There's going to be a payout to this. And long term, I think that that's part of the way to do this, because Cody's stagnant in the mid card. Now, this heel turn that's been percolating needs fire. And the fans being happy he's gone is fire. And it's good. This could play out in such a way that every mark has bought this. Let's not pretend that that's not something that AEW wouldn't love. Like, they've always been that type of company, that this is the kind of angle that, this is what Eric Bischoff and Brian Pillman dreamed of having in 96. And that's something that, most people don't think about, that, that was a thing. They fire Brian Pillman and then bring him back in a year was a plan, a real plan that a car accident kind of screwed.
We just need Cody to go pinch JR or something.
Like, there's still so much here that this could end up being the greatest work in history, or it could be Cody leaving. Is that a long-term leaving or a permanent leaving? I don't know. I mean, I could see him leaving, going to the WWE, working a program through WrestleMania, and then being done again. Because they need that star power right now, and popping a rating with Cody Rhodes would be a big thing for them. If you get him in there right now, build it through WrestleMania, and then he leaves again, no, I don't think anybody would care, because long-term, Cody Rhodes is not a WWE main eventer. Not only does Vince McMahon know that, Cody Rhodes knows that.
I don't know anything about the WWE product, but I can't imagine that Cody Rhodes can't do better than what they have personally. But quickly, let's answer a couple questions here that you guys might know, because we have some coming in from the chat. Foley says, you guys know if the new Elite 90 WWE figures are on Canadian store shelves somewhere?
Probably not.
If that's the RVD set?
90 is RVD and Bronson.
And Hogan and that. I have not seen it, but apparently there's
every place is different. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Locations are different. The closer you...
there's always, if you're on like toy Facebook groups, they're always like, oh, there was just a shipment in Burlington or something like that, and you're like, oh shit, that means it's coming to my store soon. And then
it doesn't.
3 months later, you're
like
the closer you are to the border, the more likely you are to find it sooner. Whereas even here, where we're still close to the border, it's still, we're usually anywhere from 5 to 6 waves behind the U.S.
I'll give this secret away. I was stunned when I seen it. If you live by Toronto, there's a city called Pickering. They have a Toys R Us out there. It's kind of hard to find in the plaza. You literally have to drive around the plaza, and it's in the far back corner. I went in there for this monster truck for my little guy, and I walked down the aisle, and I kid you not, half their aisle is wrestling, and it's all WWE, all AEW. I sent Jer and Johnny a couple of pictures of a few things, and like Toys R Us in the I won't say where we are, but the Toys R Us closest to us didn't have half, not even maybe even a quarter of what this Toys R Us had. I was completely floored at what they had for AEW and WWE stuff. And I wish I had more money on me at that time because I would have bought a bunch of it. So if you're in Pickering, definitely check them out. They seem to have a really big wrestling selection. And I'll be honest, I've never even been into that Toys R Us before until that day. And so have a look out for that. So
I'm going there Thursday.
Makes sense. It's closer to Toronto than we are. I mean, that's the epicenter, the big city.
So that was cool. The other question we had come in was, at least I thought it was, did we lose the chat? I don't know. I'll throw this one up though. Brandy Rhodes is so annoyingly boring, so bad that she turned Dan Lambert face for the segment.
No, I mean, yes, but no. Dan Lambert has always been a face. Okay, you just need to actually watch it. Like he's the heel you want to cheer for. That's his whole point. He's, Bobby Heenan in 2020. Yeah, he's working with evil people. He wasn't the heel. It was the people he was managing.
He's almost he's closest now to Zeb Coulter or whatever when he was managing.
Oh God!
And
okay,
no. Loved him being like fucking like.
I made a comparison to a real comparison, and you're comparing. You're making my comparison awful because I compared him to Bobby Heenan, and you're comparing him to Zeb Coulter.
Yeah, but
you've insulted my comparison.
Zeb Coulter is legendary, okay?
Yeah, in Memphis
and Alabama, but yeah, hey, he's a legend here, okay?
All right.
So legendary, nobody remembered he worked for the company 10 years before that.
There's a
hey
for Johnny, right?
There isn't.
You leave Jacob and Eli Blue out of this.
And Hawk Bradshaw, but that works too.
Hey,
all
none
right.
of them were over.
Let's talk about Stone Cold.
Yeah, let's talk about Stone Cold here. So whenever I hear Austin rumors, I just don't believe it. I just don't. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, Edge came back, people heal, restrictions are different, and I don't mean the vid restrictions either. And this, it seemed to gain like a lot of steam and some pretty reputable places, from what I understand, reporting that it's, if it's not a done deal, it's close. And I love Kevin Owens, by the way. I haven't watched WWE in forever. I've always liked Kevin Owens. I liked his program with Jericho. I love that he's Canadian. Love that he named his kid after Owen Hart. But I don't know. Something about Stone Cold coming back for Kevin Owens seems, and I get it. He does the stunner, I guess now. I don't know. That it kind of falls flat for me. One, is it happening, Jer? And two, should it happen?
One, I think we're probably at about 95% it's happening. Only because they've started throwing teasers on Raw. Kevin Owens has been hinting that he hates Texas, which feels at a left field unless they're going somewhere with it. They wouldn't clear something like that on TV unless they had a plan for it. They obviously figured out, okay, this leaked. It's being discussed by all the major wrestling news outlets, so on and so forth. So we might as well, throw them a bone. I mean, Owens is as good of a guy as any for this spot. Owens and Austin have really good rapport with each other. If you listen to the Stone Cold podcast episode from a couple years back, my concern is, what do you do in the match? Because obviously the match itself isn't going to be the drawing point in a way. You're not going to go into that expecting, hey, I'm going to see a great match. No, we're going to see Steve Austin's greatest hits, which is perfectly fine, and we haven't seen it in 20 years. But, I mean, they're desperate right now because the Shane McMahon thing fell through, which was going to be a WrestleMania main event. I use that term loosely.
That was asses in the seats.
So it feels like
Buy one get one free.
like they had to scramble and make do for another big money match because they've only got Roman and Brock on one night. So they need another reason for people to buy tickets, and they got to sell out. I heard Meltzer say earlier today that they're lucky if they'll do 70,000 in a building that holds 105, I think. So
I just got to jump in on this one because this has been irking at me since it happened. And Sean, you made the joke there. Buy one get one free. Who gives a fuck? Because of the simple fact that the WWE is paying Jerry Jones to rent that building for a week. This is a free night of profit for them that they have never had at a WrestleMania before. Buy one, get one free means nothing because the house is still going to be the same and they're still putting out the same capital outlay. It doesn't cost them any more to run a second night because they're still renting out the building for, presumably a week before and probably several days after. They're paying for that building because of the setup and the teardown. They're not just getting that for free. So it doesn't cost them a dime. So even if they do buy one, get one free for every seat in the house over both nights, the gate is still the same as if it had been a one-night WrestleMania that sells out.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that. Like you should.
How
still
does it not track?
You should still. It doesn't matter.
I'm saying financially, it doesn't
you could
matter
be like,
if
you could say they were going to do WrestleMania a week, and of course they would make more money. But
again, I'm going to say this right now: buy one get one free was a 2-day sale on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
It was valid February 14th and February 15th.
WrestleMania
sales predominantly happen in September, October, and November, and then again in March and April.
I don't claim to know the ins and outs of this, but have they ever done it before? Would be my question.
I don't think so.
What specifically?
A 2-for-1 deal.
They've done sales for WrestleMania every year. They do sales. They'll discount the travel packages. They'll discount.
Buy one get one free though.
Not to the point of free tickets though.
Yeah.
This is
Again,
why it's a talking point.
It's only a talking point because people don't understand that it doesn't matter. It's
the only reason
the
only reason they can get the week in the building is because the Cowboys aren't in the playoffs.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath on that one, Jared.
That's relevant, but like financially, night one of WrestleMania is 100% profit. 100% profit. Period. Like, and that's the point. Like, people are making out this big like if this was a one-night WrestleMania and they were doing 2-for-1 ticket sales, then yes, that's a huge deal. But it's not. It's a 2-day event. And you're doing buy one get one free for 48 hours. I don't think ticket sales would have been that high in that 48-hour period.
Well, plus they have to sell 200,000 tickets. Not that they're going to come close, but I mean,
that's the outlet. They're
like
200,000 seats over 2 nights.
But it's not going to be 200,000 different people.
No,
but
people are going to be buying tickets for both.
There are a lot of people buying Mania tickets for one night and then partaking in the other events of the weekend. I mean, there's the Collective, there's WrestleCon.
Nobody but you two fuckers give a shit about that shit.
But the fact is, wrestling fans give a shit about that shit.
Jared tries to get me to watch fucking Joey Janela's fucking.
As you should. It's one of the best shows every year.
It is.
Like,
don't you mean sports entertainment fans, Johnny? Sports entertainment fan? No,
I mean pro wrestling fans. Sports entertainment fans are going to WrestleMania.
Where else are you going to see the Invisible Man versus his brother Invisible Stan?
That's the greatest match in the history of Joey Janela's Spring Break. Okay, refereed by the great Bryce Remsburg
or something. While we'll just leave these guys on the air.
I mean, they could definitely pull off a show. There's no doubt.
But the point is, it's not as relevant as people are making it out to be. Like, let's be honest. The company budget cuts were required on a company that cleared $5 billion profit.
Did I dream up? I want to bring this back to Austin because I don't feel like we spent enough time there. Did I dream up that? I don't know if it was Meltzer or someone else had mentioned that not only is Owens and Austin likely on, but there's a good chance Austin's going to do more over the next year or two with them. They're just going to like Austin.
I haven't heard that, and I'll say this.
See if I can pull it up.
I'll say this. Austin has been medically cleared to wrestle for 4 years, 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
So the fact that he hasn't had a WrestleMania match comes down to the fact that I guarantee you every January, Vince McMahon is picking up the phone and saying, if you'd like to come back, this is the plan.
Well, yeah,
And they pitch him an
Undertaker
idea,
thing.
and they pitch him an idea, and he says, nope, sorry, pal, not interested.
Yeah.
This year they picked up that phone and said, okay, you've wanted the AJ Styleses of the world. You've wanted the wrestlers. We've wanted to give you the angle. Well, here you go. You get the angle and you get the wrestler. Here's Kevin Owens this year. Are you interested? And at that point, the hair on the back of his neck, since he doesn't have any on the top of his head, would have stood up, because that's a guy that he'd be like, okay, I'm interested. Let's talk.
I posted a link in the private chat, guys. That's not the original link I've seen, but it's someone else covering. I have no idea if that place is reputable or not.
I've never even heard of these guys that are being quoted. So, no, I have. I do know Andrew Zarian, but
the point is, Austin has made no bones about, like, if he wanted to come back.
Austin has turned down millions of dollars to come back, because let's be honest. When the Saudi deal came out, there was a phone call that said $5 million to do one match. Here's the guy. And he said, no, thanks, not interested.
I imagine there's a number everybody has a number. I'm
saying that the Saudi paychecks he's turned down are probably 2 to 3 times what he'll get paid for this program.
There's a lot of people that don't want to go there, though.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, like if it's money that's the reason, he turned down a lot more to come back.
Yeah.
If it's program, then they finally pitched a program that he likes. And that's been the problem.
For some people, though, there's not enough money to get them to go over there and do that. I don't know. I can't say that it's in Austin's wheelhouse. I have no idea how he feels about that stuff. But
Austin is a man who has a very checkered history that plays very kindly in the Saudi kingdoms. I don't imagine that politics are the reason he's saying no to Saudi oil money.
Justin Smith adds in, the Saudi prince was asking for Vince to bring in Yokozuna before.
And that's a fact.
I did remember hearing that story.
I heard about that. That's hilarious.
So didn't they bring in some NXT guy who was a big Samoan, and they just tried to pull it off?
No, they gave them Mansoor. Or not Mansoor.
They gave him somebody in that Rumble that was a bigger...
Yeah, but this was before that, though. I mean,
okay.
They did pull the...
yeah.
The sumo guy.
Didn't they ask for Warrior too? I want to say
they might have. I know they asked for a lot of ridiculous people that were no longer in the world of the living, or were so far out of the WWE's realm that they wanted Hogan to wrestle. I mean,
maybe they just think that wrestling is real, and Papa Shango could bring him back to life or something.
It's true. Hey, set his feet on fire and he comes back.
So you have a chance to win $1 million, and you have to guess it correct. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Austin wrestling at Mania.
Yes.
I mean, I'm saying yes. It still might not happen, even with all of the.
But I think they've convinced me. So
even with all of the
idea is just I mean, cool. I'd love to, hear in the glass shatter and Austin kick ass.
But we've seen that without the match, though.
So I watch wrestling, and I like wrestling, but Jeremy and Johnny live wrestling. So when they say something, I usually just agree with it. I mean, I argued with Johnny for a minute before, every once in a while, if it's an opinion thing, then I can be like, no, Jared, that stupid box wrestling guy in a Elmer Fudd.
Whoa, hey, don't talk smack about Ken the Box.
It wasn't good. But when they tell me something about the business, I usually am.
Ken the Box is amazing. Okay.
Well, speaking of the business, why don't we end the show on this note? I don't know anything about it. I jokingly made reference to it to Jer earlier. Apparently, there's some Shawn Michaels, Dax Shepard thing going around that I don't.
Some schoolyard bullshit. That's really all it breaks down to.
Do you want to give us the? I jokingly said, "Well, is Shawn Michaels being a dick again to Jared?" I knew nothing about.
That's literally all it broke down to. It was the 25th anniversary of Raw?
Yeah, 25th from
the year
Manhattan.
they did the Hammerstein Ballroom, or the Hammerstein. The year
Manhattan
they did
Center.
the Manhattan Center and
The DX
was it
thing.
the Garden, or were they in Brooklyn? I think it was Brooklyn.
They did the
They did two
simulcast.
different
Yeah, but
places.
it was Brooklyn. I think it was Brooklyn.
I think it was
and,
Barclays Center, and then
yeah, Barclays Center
they
and the
did
Manhattan Center.
Yeah.
And they did the angle where DX and the NWO beat up
The new guys.
the Revival.
Yeah.
And it said that, Sean and Dax had a, real nice heart-to-heart, talking to each other before the show about, real things. Like Dax told him stories about his own personal demons and battles with depression, and, how his wife is the only reason he's still around. And Sean related to that because it was his wife that pulled him out of his spirals and drug issues and all of those things. And, they had a moment that Dax describes as heartfelt, and he gained respect for Sean, liked Sean, and all of those things that, Sean told them, you guys are better than this. You shouldn't be doing this. You should be, whatever, doing other things, important things. You're better than this. And they had this heartfelt conversation. And as soon as the rest of the clique comes in, Sean switches to, 97 Sean and starts making fun of Dax and his battles with depression and all of these sorts of things.
Oh, time out. Hang on. He openly...
He was making jokes about it.
I know you don't fucking joke about depression.
I'm not saying you do.
No, I know you're not.
I'm saying this is how he described it. We don't know exactly what he said, whether it was just
one side of the story. Yeah,
exactly.
So was good though.
I mean,
Shawn Michaels can make fun of anything,
I
but
don't think anything's off limit.
It really. I know Bret Hart is a stubborn, doesn't for sure, absolutely. But I always wondered, because he's brought up several times since then. He's not overly positive if Shawn Michaels has changed as much as people claim, and I got it when I hear something like that like you definitely said schoolyard shit, right? I'm not talking wrestling. It's no. you have the four of us, we're hanging out, and Johnny, don't tell me that you haven't seen this, because you and I have experienced this firsthand. And then person X, Y, and Z come into it, and then all of a sudden you start acting differently because they're there and treating the like. It's so fucking bushly. Like, they're really doing that at their age now. If it happened again, it's one side of the story. So
here's the thing: wrestling locker rooms have not evolved past high school. It can be seen in the ribs they pull. It can be seen in the attitudes that change. It can be seen in telling people one thing and doing another. The booker is the teacher. Oh, this guy said this about me, or hey, it would look better if I did this. Just it's always been that way, and I think it's less an idea specifically, not to defend what he may or may not have said, but I think it's less an indictment of Shawn Michaels himself and rather the culture that he was brought up in wrestling.
Well, I mean, you do, like, so many wrestlers have said you don't get in the wrestling business to make friends, and like you I'm sure they do have friends while they're in that locker room, but the minute you're gone, people are saying shit about you. I never liked that guy anyways, whatever, he moved on. But like so many wrestlers have said it, that it's got to be true. Like it's all the politics and all the bullshit. Like you don't really make friends for life very often in wrestling. And that's why, because like it's
everyone's trying to get ahead.
It's exactly that. I mean,
well, you got to be in business for yourself, for sure. Like that's even also people like wrestlers will say you got to get yourself over. Like it's you got to work for yourself. You got to do it like, and so it lends itself to being very selfish.
Yeah, like you see it all the time. I mean, I'm sure Jer has many more stories than I do about this, but you spend enough time around wrestlers. If I had a nickel for every time I'd have a conversation with X, and they'd find out that Y is not on the card tonight, isn't coming to the show, and they're like, "Oh, thank God, that guy's such a fucking asshole. I can't stand it. I hate sharing a locker room with him. He's just just say so many negative and derogatory things." Next month, they're back on the card, and they're both together, chumming around like two buddies waiting to go to the bar together. Man. And it's like, really? Wrestling is
extremely toxic.
Wrestling is the most two-faced business everywhere. You know, you hear stories, guys who have been in the business for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, however long, and they'll tell you the stories. I can count the number of real friends I have on one hand that I've made in this business.
I say that every time Jared's not on the show. Like, for fuck's sake, I'm so glad. Like that fucking guy comes in, he doesn't even fucking know. He doesn't know his fucking wrestlers from kickers. Piece of shit.
Wait till I shake your hand next time.
And then I show up in the rest, and then I show up in the football chat. I'm like, hey Jerry, you want to make a trade ski best bro?
Yeah, right. See, whenever I introduce myself to a new wrestler, I stick my hand out and I shake their hand and I look them in the eyes and I say, "I bet you have a nice finish. Can't wait to kick out of it."
Oh man. Well, not to cut this short, but sadly, I probably have a couple hours of packing to go still tonight. So, that is going to do it for this show. It's a fun half an hour of wrestling talk and some inside look at what's going on in the industry and what you might be able to expect. And I mean, there's still 30 plus people watching this thing, so people hung around for wrestling talk, and that's always a good sign. Maybe we'll do more of it. But on that note, Johnny, where can anybody find you at, man? What's going on with you?
Here, there, and everywhere is where you can find me.
It's true. I looked in my closet. He was there.
It's true. Scared the crap out of him.
Imagine Johnny just walks out of his screen and goes across your screen, just like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Jeremy didn't know he was there the whole time. Johnny's the real boogeyman.
Hear me.
Here, there, and everywhere. Do you have nowhere where you're actually gonna?
You kind of derailed.
Aren't you on Twitch?
Yeah, we kind of got derailed there by Jared's closet. You
guys have a football podcast? Isn't there going to be some like football off-season stuff coming up soon?
Yes, we will be getting some nice off-season content together, even if I push it out myself because I'm that kind of guy. It's Inside Handoff Football Podcast and Bros Before Pros. If you're a football fan, I've got a project coming that you might enjoy.
We don't have time to get into it deep, Johnny, but on a scale of 1 to 10, if Brady ends up not retiring, hasn't signed his papers yet, and ends up in San Francisco, is that like you're gonna be just ragingly pissed or whatever?
I don't care. I don't care.
He's gonna be really upset because that means Brady beats his team in the NFC title game.
Is Rodgers even going to be a Packer next year?
I don't think that matters either.
No. I tried. Jared, where can everybody find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter at Jamie Virtue. I run a wrestling Google Drive for a small monthly fee. We have a Facebook page, Dark Match Drive. Lots of wrestling discussion all over the world. It's insane. I make like 20 posts a day. People are probably sick of me, but wrestling is amazing. And hey, what else are you going to do with your time, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fucking awesome. I watch it while I'm on the treadmill all the time.
And I only make 5 posts less a day than he does in the group.
Johnny yelled at me the other day because I mislabeled a GCW show, and he didn't realize he was watching the wrong show until the main event.
No, that's because I scrolled down to the bottom to go to the most recent one.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the main event I realized, I've seen this one already.
I will openly admit I've paid more attention to the Facebook group than I ever thought I would. So it's an enjoyable bunch of guys and gals in there. So. Kieran, where can we find you, man? When's Rick and Morty coming back?
Yeah.
When's the new season? What the hell's going on with that?
Nobody cares about Rick and Morty.
I have a marijuana tray, an ashtray, that says you're wrong.
I do not know when it's coming back. They've been super tight-lipped, which has been.
I think they said it was this year, though, right? I could have swore.
Yeah, it's supposed to be this year. It was supposed to be a year turnaround. It's supposed to be a regular TV turnaround time this year, and they actually have, like things to prove it. It's not just them saying it. It's like, hey, we hired all these people. We have a studio. We have this. Like, they have so much more to actually create it every year on time. But then they've been so tight-lipped. Nobody knows anything. Normally around this time, we know some guests that are going to be on the show. We normally know quite a bit, but we don't know anything right now, which is, I guess, might be cool.
Surprises are cool in 2022 because there aren't many of them. That's for sure.
As for social media, you can find me nowhere because I'm trying my best not to be on it. I've slipped a little bit, but I deleted my Facebook app not too long ago. So
yeah, he added me to ICQ. I was so confused.
Man, if that thing was still fucking alive, that'd be awesome. It's probably for Russian spies now or something.
Would it still be awesome? Though?
Yes, it would be. It makes that fucking monkey sound when people message you. It's awesome.
Staying off social media is actually a pretty decent piece of advice for the most part, sadly. You can check us out at patreon.com/Fandom Empire. It's the main way you can support the channel. Check us out on Facebook at Fandom Empire. Twitter's at Fandom Empire now. I think the Instagram's the same, but I'll be honest, I don't think I've made an Instagram post in like 3 months. So, and then next Thursday, I think we're seeing it. Thursday, we're going to see the Batman. So there'll probably be a review of that on like the Friday or the Saturday or something. I doubt we'll wait all the way till the Tuesday to put something out. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks for tuning in. It really is appreciated. And we'll see you on the flip side. For Tommy, Johnny, Jaron, Kieran, I'm Sean. Good night.